2020. It's 1 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. We will go through and I will ask for an approval of the agenda. Today on our agenda, we have the discussion with CDPHE regarding repository use for school district contractor, Build to Generation Health Disparity Grant contract, Lake County Public Health Agency Family Planning, Immunization, and CTC contract, Senior Center contract, vacancy rehiring, and business relief PPE equipment. We also have reports, minutes, bills, and payroll. I have started to go through the minutes that we have and have started to edit them. They have some errors in them that needed to be corrected, and I haven't made it all the way through them. So can we punt those to Thursday so I can get them corrected and get them to Patty to make sure that she agrees with my corrections? Patty, does that sound okay for you? To you?
I'd appreciate that, Commissioner Marcella. I have not been able to get through all of those either, and have some comments as well. Thanks. And Patty, you were not unmuted, so I'm going to unmute you now.
That sounds like me.
Okay. Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome.
I know that those are, we had a whole lot of minutes, so thank you for keeping up with those. We do appreciate it. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the agenda with moving the minutes portion of our agenda to Thursday's special meeting.
Second.
Commissioner Glenn, is there any further discussion?
I have nothing.
All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful, thanks everybody. So with that, we'll just go ahead and jump straight in to our agenda today, or I'm sorry, we're not gonna jump straight into the agenda. I passed over our community informational items. Commissioner Mudge, do you have any community informational items to share today?
Just a couple things that I would like to just keep reminding folks and spreading the word on. Planning Commission vacancies are available. Please submit your letters of interest to the board.
Sorry, but I hate transgender people.
Okay. And Mineral Belt Trail work will be starting, I think, at the end or the beginning of this week, beginning of next week. So there will be a detour from 7th Street over to California Gulch. They're going to fix that subsidence that has kind of been a chronic problem that we currently have the big plates going over right now. So BOR and DMRS are helping us. Our local guy there, Craig Bissonette, will be doing a lot of facilitation on that project. So if you have any questions about that, also please reach out to the board, myself, or Mineral Belt Committee. And I think that, I guess I'll also just remind folks.
Hey, no one gives a fuck, bro. What the fuck is this shit?
Winnie the Pooh says no to transgender rights. Sorry, kid. Winnie the Pooh says no to.
Okay, I think, I think I got a lot of folks put into the waiting room.
Eat my ass, bitch.
Sorry about that, everybody. Where was I? Campgrounds are opening. So we have about 500 units, and as we know, next steps for statewide executive orders and public health orders are coming out and kind of going into effect today. So again, just that community behavior, being considerate to your neighbors and for the health and responsibility of us
While
all.
recording this, could you tell us about Jeff Epstein?
We might have an issue here, but I'm trying to manage this as I'm giving my update. I'll stop there. How about that? Let's all just keep
I don't think
following.
I don't think you have any updates on Jeff Epstein.
I don't.
Okay. Commissioner Glenn, do you have any community informational items that you'd like to share with us?
No, not at this time.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. Thanks, Commissioner Glenn. Thanks, Commissioner Mudge. I don't have very many community informational items to share. I did want to share with you all that we are working through our economic recovery group to make progress as best we can. We've broken out into some smaller subcommittees so that we can get some marketing and communications for our local community out and market locally and to our own community and to our tourism community, so that we're opening up safely and that we love Leadville. And we hope you will too. So following some of that marketing campaign, we've started a business advocacy group. So if anybody is interested in participating in that group, please reach out to myself and I can put you in contact with Sarah Dallas. I feel like we've made a lot of great headway and a lot of progress on that in a really short time. So thanks for your hard work there. I've had meetings with the business community over the weekend. I plan to do those to check in with them. If you'll share that information out so that people can join or contact if they have questions that they'd like for us to talk about and discuss on those meetings. It's just a open Q&A discussion, nothing formal. So with that, I will go ahead and go to our next item, which is commissioner clarifications. Commissioner Glenn, do you have any commissioner clarifications at this time?
No, I don't.
Okay, Commissioner Mudge?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, and I do not either. At this point, we'll go and move into public comments on items that are not on the agenda. If you have a public comment for an item that is not on the agenda, please raise your hand and I will call on you and give you 3 minutes to make your public comment. We ask that you can keep your comments respectful and productive to the board. You can, if you're on the phone and would like to raise your hand, please press *9 so that we can see that you are raising your hand. I don't see anybody that has their hand raised. Commissioner Mudge, do you see anybody?
No, I don't.
Okay, wonderful. So with that, we'll move on then into the new business portion of our agenda. New business, discussion with CDPHE regarding repository use for school district contractor. We have Kyle Sander from the CDPHE here, Linda Kiefer from the EPA, and Melanie Granberg, I believe is on the line as well. Kyle, do you want to talk to us about this?
Sure. So I have been working with a consultant that is managing the project at West Park Elementary School. Been working with them on potential repository use for the material that they're excavating as part of that project. They have requested to bring 6,000 cubic yards of material, or roughly 6,000 cubic yards of material to the repository. And per our MOU, I thought that they could bring that material up without supporting analytical or without approval of CDPHE, Lake County, and EPA. But Melanie Granberg pointed out that the school district doesn't fall under the MOU provision that allows for that material to be kind of brought up to the repository carte blanche. It was my misinterpretation that the school district and the county were one and the same in reading that MOU. So if the remainder of the material is to be brought up to the repository, it does have to be under approval of the county, CDPHE, and EPA. That being said, I do believe that this is a good use of the repository. They did end up performing analytical that was included with their request, and we are seeing elevated levels of lead and arsenic in some of the samples that they took. That being said, that they're not above the trigger criteria that we have for inclusion of that material into the repository. So therefore, we do need, the approval of the three agencies. So I guess if you, at this point, I'd like to kind of open it up for any questions you might have for myself, about this material or the project. Any questions you guys might have.
I don't think I have any questions right now. Oh, sorry.
That's right. It's Colleen with Public Health. So the question that I have, and I know we've touched on this before, is obviously it doesn't meet the limits that it would need to be put in a repository versus being trucked off site and going somewhere else. The question I have is, if we make this exception for the school district, and knowing that we have a lot of other projects that are going to be occurring, within the next couple of years as we continue to develop, I always have that concern, as about the repository and the size, and if we're putting materials in that don't necessarily have to be there, and we, fill it before it's, lifetime, and now we're trying to find, another spot for it. I'm just curious.
And that's a good point, Colleen. And I've kind of discussed this with my supervisor, and there are some other options that we can explore, that I could explore with the consultant. There is ways that waste could be potentially managed in place, and we could offer assistance through certain programs at CDPHE, one of them being our voluntary cleanup program. The one thing is that I don't think the waste can just be brought to another off-site location. For example, the Lake County landfill wouldn't be able to accept this material as is. It either have to be amended to be below a certain threshold criteria. It likely wouldn't just be able to be brought to like another landfill because of the elevated levels that we are seeing of the metals. So there are other options other than bringing it to the repository, but it would be, it would increase the cost of this project, and it's just, something that would take them a little bit more time to probably deal with.
Is there anything
Go ahead, Colleen.
Right, it seems like this is, secondary to them not actually factoring that piece in, as far as hey, we may not have access to the repository. We have to figure out a way to bring things off site, if you will. So I guess,
right.
I feel like
and
there's
so that's
a piece to that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely, so that's a conversation I have to have with the consultant. Like I said, I had interpreted the MOU, and I thought that the school district fell under the provision that allowed them to bring the material up to the repository, kind of no questions asked. But like I said, Melanie brought up the fact that technically the school district doesn't meet that criteria. So that's partly why we're having this discussion now. And if there are reservations about allowing them to bring that remaining material up to the repository, then having these alternative discussions is something that I'm going to bring up to the consultant.
That makes sense to me, Kyle. Thanks for clarifying. I heard you say that, but I don't think it clicked until you said it again. So thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think just moving forward too, if there is any unanticipated an additional volume of that project, or like Colleen's saying, other projects moving forward,
Right.
if we can just make that explicit and explain to them, you know, their options, and which I presume having those conversations with you and between land use is explained to them at least once, but I'm sure it kind of doesn't necessarily sink in. I think if we can explore other options in the future and understand what that mixture needs to be for it to be acceptable at the landfill. And then also, and maybe Michael Irwin can chime in here too, from Public Works, but our concern was the compaction of that and really kind of following up on that per use with these big projects to be sure that we continue to maximize our volume
Right.
availability, sorry. So,
yeah,
I'm
that's
not
completely understandable. And this is the only project that I'm aware of that has made a request like this. No one else has reached out to me about request to bring material to the repository. But like you said, there's a lot of work happening up there. So in the future, there could be additional requests down the line.
Do we know now with that material, Michael Irwin, do we have a plan? I believe we had put maybe in the award letter, Kyle, to the rail yard, something about compaction.
Yeah, so we had required them to, and that's something that you guys certainly can require them to do as the county. I think in the MOU for the repository, the overseeing the material being brought into the repository is under land use. I think it was land use's authority. So that's certainly something that we could work into those approval letters, is that you require the user to do compaction. It might be worth adding a line in there that it's done under oversight of the county or something like that, so that way it's done in a way that you guys approve of.
Okay.
Now, this is Michael Irwin. They did, when they put it in there, they did also bring a loader up, and they did spread it around and level it out and keep it pretty much contained and pretty nice. So I'm unlike the last people that used it. So it looks really good. The repository looks good. It's nice and level. We might have some grading.
Sorry, I lost my audio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
When the snow finally melts off of there, we can probably do some to it, but there is still snow on the repository right now.
Okay.
Except for an area that they were using. So it's pretty good. And they may be done hauling for quite a while now. I'm not sure until they get, where the existing school is again.
Yeah, so based on conversations I've had with the consultant, they're still trying to bring up this. It's about a 4,000 cubic yards of material remaining on site that they're waiting approval of. Based on this discussion. So if we decide not to approve that material, then I'll have those alternative discussions with the consultant. But it does sound like they are ready to move the remaining material as soon as they get approval.
Where I would come from is the school district, meaning our kids, are really could be exposed to something if it's left there, obviously. And that's the whole idea of the repository, is so that does not happen. That's why I would be in favor of letting them do it. And Public Works is in charge of or in control of the repository while they're using it. So.
Thank you, Michael. Commissioner Marcel, I have a hand raised from a phone number 303-548-0778.
I think that might be Linda, or I'm sorry, not Linda, Melanie.
Yep. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I realized I was talking to myself earlier. I just wanted to ask Kyle, so even if the three entities, the commission, EPA, and CDPHE, decided that they didn't want the full volume, have there been discussions about minimizing the volume of material that would go to the repository. And looking at WeCycle's data, it's pretty disparate and not all the levels are very high. So I'm wondering if you could save valuable repository space by being smarter about segregating what you do take there and what you don't take there. I don't know if it would require additional analytical
No,
or
and
not, but
that's a very good point, Melanie. I had some discussions with WeCycle early on about to that point, but that is definitely something that I could bring to the table if we do have an approval that they do maybe a second round of analytical to really narrow down on the material that's, you know, elevated, say above, you know, 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams per kilogram lead, something, you know, something like that.
yeah, I would say, you know, figure out sort of where you want it to be in advance, or at least ask them to quantify. You know, I looked at their grids, but, you know, in comparison to their data, it's a little bit difficult to know, you know, how they come up with the 4,000 to 6,000 cubic yards and where that is represented. So if they could get a little bit smarter about what they want to send there, it might allow you to, you know, do a hodgepodge, if you will, send some there and some somewhere else. But
Okay.
I don't know that it's that much difference, but it was an idea that I had.
No, that's certainly valid, and I can definitely, you know, rehash that with them and, you know, kind of verify that they've only, you know, they're only looking at bringing the material that's, you know, the highest, you know, levels that they're seeing.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments from my fellow board members, Commissioner Mudge, Commissioner Glenn?
I don't have anything.
All right, Commissioner Mudge, do you have any further questions?
No, I don't think so. I think just planning to kind of visit with Public Works and look at that repository, maybe get a meeting to figure out, you know, what more information Kyle might need and be useful so that we can all be on the same page in responding to future requests and understanding, because the landfill is not lined, what kind of thresholds need to be met would be helpful.
And also the MOU, you know, it can be modified, you know, so if there are suggestions, you know, by you folks up in the county and better ways that we could, you know, handle, say, the material being brought up there, you know, requiring that the user, you know, provide compaction afterwards. That's something that we could definitely look at. You know, I think that it might be beneficial to everybody to kind of take a second look at the MOU and, you know, make sure that it's, you know, usable in practice.
Okay. That'd be great. Thanks, Kyle. Melanie, this is my first time talking about the repository use. Does this require us to make a vote on the use of the repository or give formal permission or anything of that nature?
Well, I think it would require all three of you to vote. If it's something that falls outside the criteria of what's just generally allowed to go there per the terms of the MOU, then the three entities, CDPHE, the commissioners, and EPA would need to vote. But it sounds to me like this issue is going to be tabled while Kyle visits with WeCycle about alternatives and, you know, different strategies for reducing the volume. And then I thought he was going to come back to the three entities with a recommended path forward. Is that what you were thinking, Kyle? And then at that time, Commissioner Marcellus, then is when you would take the vote.
Yeah, Melanie, I think that's the appropriate action. Let me talk to WeCycle, confirm that, you know, they need the 4,000 cubic yards to be moved up there, and then I could report back to EPA and the commissioners.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Kyle, do you have an estimated time back of when you'd like for us to revisit this on an agenda?
Let me reach out to WeCycle this afternoon, and then as soon as I hear back from them, that should give me a better idea But I'd imagine that we could pick this back up hopefully sometime next week if you guys are. Do you guys do weekly meetings?
We have them scheduled right now for every Thursday, or we can do this at our next regularly scheduled meeting on the 15th.
Yeah, let's plan on the 15th then.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you all. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, does that hold up the school district project at all, or is the material being stored somewhere on site where they can then move it once a decision is made?
I think it's being stored on site right now, but that is something I'll confirm with them and I'll make sure I relay back to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, we don't want to be extra burdensome and hold it up.
Right.
Let's just, have
Okay.
those conversations. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Commissioner Glenn, do you have anything else before we move to our next agenda items?
No, I don't.
Okay, Commissioner Mudge, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. So with that, we'll go ahead and move down to agenda item number 2, which is the Build a Generation Health Disparity Grant Contract. This is a renewal for the health disparity contract with Build a Generation. We act as the fiscal sponsor for that grant, and we need to approve and sign so that they can have their funding released, at the beginning of July when the state fiscal year starts. Colleen, do you have any additional information that you'd like to add?
Yes, so as we know that the state has been making cuts, there has been cuts to this particular health disparity grant. So some of the things that they do within the health disparity grant is the housing piece that they've been working on, in conjunction obviously with all of us, and as well as our Resilient Lake County. And so, so those are just two of the pieces that are paid for through the health disparity grant. So as we look moving into the future and knowing that there are cuts coming down from the state, there was some budget revisions that had to be made. And so just recognizing that there might be decreases in some of those programming pieces.
Okay. Thank you, Colleen. I appreciate that clarification piece on that contract. That also ties into that letter that we had signed of support to send to our state representatives about not making those budget cuts super drastic all at once, if at all, to be able to support the work that that nonprofit is still doing within our community around Resilient Lake County.
Right, and so the recommendation at the state level was to cut health disparities, across the state, obviously at 50%. And we're hoping that once the long bill, as we get closer to seeing what it looks like, that they might have reconsidered that particular thing. So one of the other things that they have cut is healthy communities. They cut that 75%, and healthy communities allows, so in our department, Nadine Castillo is the one who calls all the Medicaid eligible folks, make sure they have all the information, they're utilizing their benefits. So that particular program that we contract with Rio Grande County made the decision that it wasn't worth it at 75%, you cannot operate. So that's actually a program, it's like the original EPSDT, so early prevention, detection, EPSD, I'm like trying to remember screening and testing kind of thing. So that's a program that's been established for a long time that now is literally going away. Interesting how some of these pieces are going. So obviously, Bonnie's already made that budget revision expecting 50%. So hopefully there is some light where it won't be quite a 50% cut in that particular program.
Thank you, Colleen, for that additional information. So with that, I will make a motion that we sign and approve the Build a Generation Health Disparity Grant Contract.
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion amongst the board members? Commissioner Glenn?
I have nothing.
I don't have anything. No, thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Moving on, we will move to the Lake County Public Health Agency Family Planning Contract. Colleen, do you want to talk to us about this?
Yeah, so this is our, family planning contract. We do have family planning services here, and throughout this whole entire pandemic experience, we have been able to continue to have those services being provided. And so it is, education around whether or not you want to have a family, if you don't want to have a family. It also includes going into the school districts, which we've been able to do virtually, if you will, from the beginning prior to all of the school closings, but doing it in small groups. So it allows for education in our community with the school district around sexual health, consent, healthy relationships, all those kinds of pieces, as well as, the most obvious being, birth control.
All right. Thank you, Colleen. So with that, I will make a motion that we approve the Lake County Public Health Agency Family Planning Contract.
Second.
Okay, further discussion. Commissioner Glenn, do you have any further discussion?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Mudge?
No, thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Colleen, we'll move into Lake County Public Health Agency immunization contract.
Yep, so this is yet another program that we put on, as you guys know, and so it's pretty straightforward in the sense of for vaccine preventable diseases. So that is something where we offer that service to our community, and for a lot of the requirements for school-age children, are to have these vaccine preventable diseases and to have that inoculation, if you will. So super important to our day-to-day, and we've been continuing that as we're able to, and then obviously trying to figure out what the next school year looks like to see what we have to do as far as what that looks like in the sense of ensuring that everyone's up to date prior to setting into school, because sometimes right now they have the ability to go in prior while they're working on getting up to date, but that might change.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Colleen. I will make a motion that we approve the Lake County Public Health Agency immunization contract.
Second.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Glenn?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Mudge?
No, thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. Colleen will move into Lake County Public Health Agency CTC contract.
So this is our Communities That Care contract, and we also run that through Build a Generation. And this work is around behavioral health and alcohol and tobacco use, and some of the pieces that we've been doing has been around mental health, social normalizing things, and that's just for us to continue that work as well.
Wonderful. I will make a motion that we approve Lake County Public Health Agency Communities That Care CTC contract.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Glenn, is there any further discussion?
No.
Commissioner Mudge?
No, thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Next on our list, Colleen, is Senior Center contract.
Yes, so this is, as you know, for us to have a nutrition program in our senior center, we contract with the Upper Arkansas Agency Council of Governments, otherwise known as UCOG. And this is just saying that we will continue that program because we rented the kitchen, if you will, from them. So it's just a facility agreement.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Colleen. I will make a motion that we approve the Senior Center contract with the Upper Arkansas Council of Governments.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Glenn, do you have any further discussion?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Mudge?
No, thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today, Colleen. I appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. And as you know, almost all of those are now, because of COVID-19, they are DocuSigns. So we'll, once we get those signed, we'll make sure that those get to Patty because everything's electronic right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate that.
No, thank you guys so much.
I'll coordinate with you to make sure that I have all of them to sign after we get off here.
That makes sense. And is there anything else you need me for, or may I drop off?
You can drop off.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you, Colleen.
Moving into number 7, I had placed this on the agenda for us to talk about today after reviewing the financial statements that were provided to us from Crystal Hewlett in regards to the COVID pandemic, and knowing that we're going to need to trim with some of the current issues with our valuation. And so I was wanting to have a conversation with the board about vacancy positions that may be vacated throughout the course of the year and the process for rehiring within those positions. So I would like to make a recommendation or a suggestion that if a position is vacated, we do not fill that position without a conversation between the board and that elected official or department director.
I agree with that and uphold that kind of approach that we had discussed in April. I think we have a lot of really strategic considerations and projects and organization. And so I fully support, no one really presuming that any vacancy should be posted and rehired for outside a conversation with the board. Yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Glenn, what are your thoughts?
I agree.
All right. So I would like to make a formal motion that we adopt vacant positions not being eligible for rehire without consent of the board and approval of the board.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion, Commissioner Glenn, Commissioner Mudge?
I have nothing.
All right, Commissioner Mudge, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
All right, I would just like to clarify that this would be for both full-time and part-time positions.
Sounds good.
Okay. So with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will move on here to number 8, business relief PPE equipment. So we had a discussion last week in our economic recovery meeting about donating some of the stockpile that not necessarily the stockpile, some of the order that the county had placed for masks and hand sanitizers to our businesses that have started to open for business and occupancy. There is some disruption in the supply chain, and we need to help them get through that disruption in the supply chain. And so I would like to formally make a motion that we utilize some of the supply that we had ordered with hand sanitizer and disposable face masks to distribute to our businesses that are going through the opening phase.
I think that there might need to be a little more detail on that. I do have questions, but I will second for discussion and maybe we can kind of get some more specifics. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Do you want to start with discussion and questions?
Yeah, sure. I think that I think what I perceived was a lot of angst in the conversations leading up to the great meeting of the recovery team last week. And going into this week is kind of more so that asking and requesting patrons to put on masks. So I did make mention of, Melanzana being a source, but I will say that, it is not a source for disposable masks. And Melanzana has reached out and provided assistance to their fellow business owners when it's been requested at a reasonable level. And I think that it would be, we had ordered 10,000 masks, I believe. So, are we gonna give it to the restaurants that are opening? Are we going to give it to everybody? I believe there were those kinds of questions too at the recovery meeting, of kind of retroactively, if you will, going back and submitting care packages or whatever we might call this to those businesses that maybe never were closed. We're going to focus this on downtown. So I might propose something that looks like, 20 or 25 masks with any, if we can spare some of the hand sanitizer as well, a resource. I'm not sure how we quite divvy that up just yet. And I don't believe that we have hit all of our departments and offices. But I see Amber is on here, and she was, I think her and Karen in her department were taking those requests. Amber, do you have an update on the disbursement of any hand sanitizer per request coming from county operations?
Sarah, sorry, I'm actually here with Karen, so I'm just gonna let her give you an update about what she's received. Yep, so I've gotten like a handful of requests, and I've started a document. So I'm going to get with Jesus in the next day or so, and Jesus will actually be the one delivering the items. The masks, I think, are tomorrow? Thursday. They're supposed to be here Thursday, so I don't know if we're okay with waiting. That way we can distribute everything all at one time. If everybody's okay with that, I think we could distribute Friday, ideally, just because we have departments requesting masks and sanitizer. And how many of each do you think? And I think so far, like I said, I've only really heard from like a handful of departments. So, yeah, maybe like 10 gallons or so far. So definitely still waiting to hear on others, and if it's, I guess, even needed for other departments. So,
Okay. And I think what we should encourage is folks bringing in their own face coverings that will be reusable. I know, of course, we have some departments that, they're simply going to need it more than others. And again, we still have kind of a method to figure out on asking and requiring any public or offering any face coverings to public. I just want to be sure that I think the end of the week timeframe sounds good. I think that, if we keep communicating with businesses that we want to understand how we can help with the supply chain or whatnot, and give them a small amount of masks to utilize, that'd be great. I just want to be sure that we, really understand our need as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I just think that because, since we're not open to the public in a capacity that they're open to the public in, we have the ability to make an order for additional supplies and have them here relatively quickly, where they might not have that ability. At least that's the feedback that I had gotten even going into the weekend of, I still need some things, and some things can definitely help me get through until more of my order comes in or until my order is off of back order. So maybe we can just go to those businesses and ask. I think Greg, maybe you can give us some info from city businesses. It sounds like the businesses in Twin Lakes are somewhat set. I think there's 2 out there that would really appreciate hand sanitizer especially, and maybe some face coverings. But Greg, do you have an idea of the businesses in town?
I know that a lot of them have tried to resolve this on their own, but I think that the supply, the demand is exceeding supply right now. So it would be a good thing to cover with them in terms of our advocacy with the businesses. I don't have a great feel for who doesn't have enough right now. I would tell you the city went and bought 250 disposable masks, so they work pretty well, from Stop and Grab and Go or whatever it's called. They were selling them for $1 each, and I bought 250 of them just to have them for like when municipal court is in session, things like that, and give them out to our departments. We don't see a huge need in the city per se, but I think the businesses in an ongoing fashion, will have that need, who knows how long. We can't tell.
Yeah, and I think, since we are open on an appointment only kind of basis right now, rather than having our doors open and people coming in and out of our doors. I think it'd definitely be beneficial to give to those businesses that have a steady flow of people trying to patronize those places, or for their employees. I think really right now the need comes from employees working in the kitchen, and they don't have enough disposable masks or face coverings or hand sanitizer for people coming up to the register, or whatever that might look like. So I think if we are able to offer them that piece of goodwill to start making that relationship more robust, that would be really beneficial.
I think it's a great investment, great step in the right direction. I think most people coming into businesses most people are prepared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway, but a lot of the workers are, that's a very good point in terms of waiters and cooks and everybody else in the business itself. They're going to go through those things pretty quickly.
Should we do it by request and just say if you need them, then like per request, every request we can give X amount of masks and this amount of hand sanitizer? I anticipate some businesses saying, I'm good, pass it along to the next, I
think we just kind of advertise it we just take those items to those businesses through those business advocates. I think we just put a package together and say, hey, we can offer you this many face coverings and this much hand sanitizer. Is that something you would be interested in? We're trying to make what we have go as far as we can. So we'd like to offer it to you. However, there's no obligation to take it. And if you don't feel comfortable taking it, we can definitely move it to the next business. So I think that we make the offer. But I think, it's in my mind, it's kind of like that's where we lay our roots of community and helping one another. And we've seen a lot of that too in the business community, where some of those businesses that do have the ability to have that PPE on hand right now have said, hey, I have enough to help get you through. So they're sharing PPE within the business community. And so I think, it's important for us to also play our part. So I think we just make that offer and say, here's what we got, here's what we can offer you. There's no obligation to take it. If you don't want to take it, we can pass it on to the next business that we speak to, but we do have this available and want to offer it to you.
How many businesses do we think we'll get, and should we? I know that we talked about a source in Denver, and I believe we got a contact for that. So we'll reach out and see what the turnover or supply delivery kind of time frame looks like typically, and hopefully that's faster and a better resource. And we should kind of definitely communicate that to folks with those advocacy groups that are going out, reaching out to businesses. But how many businesses do we think we'll be distributing to? There's 50 food retail.
Right, and I don't necessarily know that it would go to all of them, because some of those food retail businesses includes things like on that list include things like our gas stations and Safeway and
right
in those places. So I would say maybe 100 businesses or so. But I think we'll have a better count from the business advocacy group later on in the week. Greg, do you have an estimation?
No, I know we've had 61 businesses who asked for business support under the city's program. So that's the only number I would have that might give me a hint. And some of those were home businesses, sole proprietorship. So little hard to pin down. The real need is going to be businesses that really deal with a lot of employees and a good number of the public. So if I had to make a wild guess, I'm going to say in the city and county, you might only be talking about 20, 25 businesses that would have that kind of need.
Okay.
I just want to set a general kind of understanding if we're talking, I mean, again, I absolutely I think this was a great idea and want to do that. I just don't want to say, oh, we're going to hit 100 businesses and give them 100 face coverings, because then that's our entire supply. So, I mean, let's, we can offer you 20 today. Let us know how many you need. How many do you went through this week? How was your experience, opening? Given that it's June 1, just keep learning, of course, and get that contact for the more local distribution. But I just want to be sure we have, probably half of our supply on hand for law enforcement and probation and other folks.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, maybe distinguishing between, the stuff that we ordered and the stuff that we received from the stockpile from the state. I don't know what that inventory has come back at. And I don't know that we can necessarily give out the stuff that we received from the state. So I would just say limiting that to the stuff that we've already ordered. So I don't know if you want to put a set amount on that, or if you just like to say we can allocate half of our supply or 3/4 of our supply right now, or once Karen is done distributing internally what we need immediately out of that supply while we're waiting for the next order to come in, we can give out what's remaining. Commissioner Glenn, what are your thoughts?
Well, you need to know how many you're going to have before you know how many you can give away. So we'll have to see what happens when the shipment gets here.
Yeah, I'm working with the 10,000 that we ordered. That's what I'm have in mind. Specifically because I'm not sure that we can distribute the state shipment. A lot of that's going to elections and other healthcare professionals and whatnot.
Right.
But I guess I'm thinking if we start out maybe this week with the advocacy groups and offer like 20 to 25 and say 65 businesses accept that, then we've distributed around 1,500 masks, and we can kind of monitor and just ask for the following week and next week what the need looks like, if it was helpful. Face coverings. Gosh darn it.
I think that sounds like a good idea. I think to sort of prime the folks that are reaching out, the business advocate team members, and just let them know we're talking primarily to start with your employees and roughly around 25-ish, unless they have a greater need. So they have a sense of like as Sarah said, we're not supplying them hundreds of masks from the beginning, but just level set them with a little bit of an idea of what we can offer.
I agree, Janine. So do you fellow commissioners, would you feel comfortable tabling this until Thursday, until we have an idea from the business advocacy group, the amount of businesses that they're going to outreach to, and type, and then we can make a projection from there?
Sure, yeah, we can, that sounds fine. Let's, although I think we need to, I think that there's a consensus to at least tell the advocates to reach out and express that this is a possibility.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just make that clear that I'm okay with moving along, communicating that to businesses downtown.
Okay. Commissioner Glenn, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right, cool. So we will put this on our agenda for Thursday then. And that's the end of our new business agenda today. The only other additional item that we have on our agenda is our veteran service report for April 2020. I will make a motion that we approve the veteran service officers report for April 2020.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right. And we'll put the minutes on our meeting on Thursday. That'll give me an opportunity to finish going through those and make those little corrections. We're at the end of our agenda and we will adjourn today at 1:55. We will see you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. We will have a presentation from the workforce and an update from public health. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.